the healing of the paralyzed man at the Pool of Bethesda. Have you ever felt trapped in a situation with no way out? Have you ever faced moments when hope seemed distant and the solution impossible? In today's video, we are going to dive into one of the most impactful and moving stories in the Bible, the healing of the paralyzed man at the Pool of Bethesda. In this inspiring account, we see how a man who spent 38 years facing both physical and emotional limitations had his life completely transformed through an encounter with Jesus. This story teaches us about faith, restoration, and how God can perform miracles even in the toughest circumstances. Get ready for a powerful reflection on how divine love can change destinies and bring new life. And if this message touches your heart, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you never miss one of our inspiring videos. Let's journey together in faith and hope. In Jerusalem, near the gates of the ancient city, there was a place with a pool called Bethesda, surrounded by 5 porticos and heavily frequented by a crowd of the sick. It was an area where hearts carried a deep desire for healing and relief, driven by an ancient tradition that an angel would descend and stir the waters of the pool. Those who believed in this miracle patiently waited to be the first to immerse themselves in the stirred waters and be healed of their ailments. The stirring of the water was seen as a divine intervention, and only those who could reach the waters at the right moment would be cured of their pains and diseases. The Pool of Bethesda, therefore, was much more than just a simple water reservoir. It represented a last hope, a final breath of trust in healing, an opportunity everyone awaited with eager anticipation. Among the crowd of sick people, many were blind, lame, and paralyzed, who had been brought there by their families or by a desperate attempt to find a cure, even if just a spark of hope remained in their hearts. Every day, the air in that place was filled with an intense heat of anguish and waiting, while those present became a wall of mutual suffering. The atmosphere was marked by a tangle of human feelings where, amid the fear of rejection and frustration, a spark of faith rose up, compelling them to stay and wait. Among all those gathered, there was one man in particular who stood out. He had been sick for 38 years, which made his situation even more desolate. The illness affected not just his body, but his mind, heart, and spirit as well. 38 years had been more than enough to drain his hope and temporary solutions. At first, he may have believed he could be healed just like others. But over time, expectation was replaced by frustration. The physical suffering was no longer enough. Despair and sadness took over his soul. On his journey at the pool, he not only lost the ability to move, but also the ability to wait for something beyond what he knew. He was stuck in a routine of waiting and watching as others received what he too longed for, but the truth was, he no longer had the strength to be the first to reach the miracle he so desperately desired. In this scenario of hopelessness, Jesus arrives, whose actions always exceed human expectations. When he enters a place of pain, he doesn't come merely as a spectator, but as the agent of transformation, as the very answer of God to human suffering. Jesus looks around and sees this man, tired and limited in his faith. Unaware that he was about to experience one of the most radical and profound transformations of his life, the paralyzed man felt the compassionate gaze of Christ upon him. Jesus approached him and asked a perplexing and yet revealing question: "Do you want to be healed?" This question is not merely about a physical desire. It is not a simple inquiry, but an invitation for deep reflection. Jesus was not questioning the desire for healing, but what that desire revealed about the man's willingness to change. He knew that there was more here than just a physical matter. He was addressing the soul of that man, urging him to reflect on his expectations and deepest beliefs. The man's response, already marked by frustration, comes as a lament: "Lord, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred, while I am trying. Another goes down before me." The man not only expresses the difficulty of his physical paralysis, but also reveals the depth of his emotional isolation and sense of helplessness. In his words, there is not only a surrender to his physical limitation, but also a rejection by others and the loneliness that had marked his existence. He He believed the solution to his life was beyond his control, in something he could not reach, the help of others and the moment of divine intervention symbolized by the stirring of the waters. But in making this confession, he was, unknowingly, about to be challenged by something far more extraordinary than just a simple physical healing. Jesus' response, then, is surprising and radiant with divine authority. Get up. Pick up your mat and walk. What seemed impossible to the man, what seemed like a distant dream, was now a direct command, an invitation to action. Jesus did not ask him to do the impossible. He did not say the man needed to wait for the right moment, nor did he suggest he needed to move with more effort. No, Jesus gave him a direct and powerful word that surpassed any human intervention. He commanded a change not just physically, but existentially. The miracle happened the moment Jesus spoke. The paralysis that had endured for so many years was suddenly undone. There was no room for doubt or hesitation. The man obeyed Jesus' word, stood up, and took the mat he had carried all that time in suffering, now a symbol of the miracle he was experiencing. As he took his first steps, not only was his body renewed, but his life became a message of restoration and power. In that moment, everything changed. The mat, which once represented his prison, now symbolized his victory, his freedom, and the grace of God that had touched him deeply. The man, who had become accustomed to being part of the scene of suffering, now became a symbol of hope, the living testimony that, in God, all things are possible. Imagine the impact of this for those around him. Many had waited years to experience the same miracle, and seeing that man get up and walk, some skeptical gazes may have turned into looks of faith. Some, moved by disbelief, may have questioned how this had happened, but his simple presence spoke louder than any words could. He was now a walking testimony that God's action goes beyond the limits imposed by human conditions. This moment of pure wonder was not entirely free from reactions from religious leaders, who, in turn, questioned the man's action of carrying his mat, a violation of the tradition that prohibited certain works on the Sabbath. Their legalism blinded them to the divine wonder before their eyes. What should have been a cause for celebration among those present, a visible miracle of healing and divine love, became a reason for conflict due to the rigid rules they had established. The paralyzed man didn't know, at that moment, who Jesus was, but when Jesus later found him in the temple and said to him, "Look, you're healed, don't sin anymore, or something worse may happen to you," he showed him that physical healing was just one aspect of the complete restoration he came to offer. Spiritual healing, internal change, and the transformation of the soul were the greatest blessings. God does not merely address the visible part of our pain and suffering, but goes to the core of our choices and attitudes, offering not just temporary relief, but complete healing. The paralyzed man, knowing that Jesus was responsible for his healing, shared Jesus' name with the religious leaders, and a new controversy began. However, it is at this moment that the deeper work of the miracle is revealed. Jesus not only heals physically, but he calls us to complete spiritual transformation. The fact that Jesus exhorted the man not to sin anymore is a lesson about how true healing is not just for the body, but also for the soul. It is a call to repentance and new life, a life filled with divine grace and God's presence. The story of the paralyzed man at the Pool of Bethesda goes beyond an isolated miracle. It is a story of liberation, transformation, and, above all, of a new life that only God can offer. How many of us feel paralyzed in various areas of life, waiting for divine intervention, seeking solutions that never seem to come? How many still cling to temporary sources of healing, forgetting that God offers something far more permanent and profound? Jesus' call to the paralyzed man at Bethesda resonates with us today. Get up. Pick up your mat and walk. He calls us to trust in him, to believe that his word is power and that he can transform our lives, bringing complete healing not just for the body, but for the soul as well. Like the healed man, we are all called to carry with us the testimony of the transformation God has made in our lives. This testimony is a light that illuminates the path for those still waiting for their own healing. Today, Just like yesterday, the question is still asked, do you want to be healed? The same power that restored that man at the Pool of Bethesda is available to all of us. It just takes a response of faith for transformation to take place. Just as the paralyzed man at the Pool of Bethesda, we often find ourselves waiting for something that seems impossible, but the good news is that transformation can happen at any moment. Jesus continues to call us to a life of faith, renewal, and deep healing. He is not limited to what we see, but goes beyond, touching the deepest areas of our lives and offering complete restoration. If this story has touched you and you believe in God's power to transform lives, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Leave your comment below, telling us how the story of Jesus can touch your life. And of course, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get notifications of our new videos. Let's walk together on this journey of faith.